You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 Gov.biz Radio, a CBS station.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. You are listening to us on CBS radio station Gov.biz, 1580 AM in the Washington, D.C. area, or on the web, WMClive.com, where you can also find links to all the podcasts of our previous shows. And we want to hear from you, too, so tweet us at hashtag WMCLive, or you can email us at womensmediacenterlive@gmail.com. Now, today we cover a lot of space. Our guests include a feminist peace pioneer who ranges the internet, a women's rights activist from Nepal, the director of the WMC's project reporting on sexualized violence in Syria, and the political humorist Kate Clinton, whose beat is absolutely everywhere and whose method is wit. But first, behind the headlines. Now, a week or so ago, you remember, we were gnashing our teeth at having learned that Saudi Arabia had begun electronic monitoring of women. Well, now India enters the Where Do They Hate Women More Lately contest. Reuters News Service is reporting that a village council in the eastern India state of Bihar has forbidden women, wait for it, to use cell phones. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, you're thinking, I could go for such a ban on everyone. Noise pollution, intrusion of other people's conversations into my space, people walking along the street talking to themselves seemingly or to space aliens but on their phones, conversations I do not want to hear. None of those things are reasons for the ban. It's that cell phones lead to elopements. Yes, you heard correctly. No, I do not spend the week dreaming these things up. Reuters continues, quote, the Sundarbari Village Council has also imposed a fine of 10,000 rupees, which is about $180, if a girl is caught using a cell phone on the streets. Married women would have to pay 2,000 rupees, which is about $37. Munawar Alam, head of a committee enforcing the ban, claims that in the past few months at least 6 girls and women fled their homes. He says, even married women were deserting their husbands to elope with lovers. That was shameful for us. Mobile phones are debasing the social atmosphere. Oh, the joys of shame as a means of social control. You got that, listeners? It's not never men debasing the social atmosphere. It's not husbands being fled from for being maybe violent or lazy or boring. It's not the lovers being eloped with, who may not even exist but might be a face-saving excuse for the village, or, if real, who in time may turn into violent, lazy, or boring mates like Vronsky. You remember Vronsky, Anna Karenina, right. Not even the women are guilty, because to accuse a woman of debasing the social atmosphere gives her far too much agency, too much power. No, it's the fault of the phones. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you got that. Local officials have begun investigations. Women's rights activists say the ban could end up harming women by stripping them of a source of protection from, say, unwanted advances by, I guess that would be men. This is hardly the first time village councils in Southeast Asia have arrived at Lewis Carroll levels of madness. Oh yes, it takes a village to enforce cases where village elders awarded girls as young as age 9 as junior wives and de facto slaves, to end a family feud or pay a debt, or in recompense for an insult or a crime committed by one of the girl's male relatives. Elders have found rape survivors guilty of adultery and punished them severely. Lewis Carroll, off with her head. So next time your cell phone drops a call, think about what a weapon of social debasement you're carrying. Which reminds me, I should call my dentist. I must be grinding again, even harder. I think I cracked my bite guard last night. Anyway, our first guest is Lucinda Marshall. She's good news. She's founder and director of the Feminist Peace Network, feministpeacenetwork.org, and also of Occupy Patriarchy. And she authors her own blog, Reclaiming Medusa, love it, as well as writing and speaking on the connections between feminism and economic, environmental, and health issues. Welcome, Lucinda, to Women's Media Center Live.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So you are probably one of the most active and, I think, best internet activists and organizers we have. But lately you've had this new campaign, which I think is so important, which I want you to talk about, which is reviving CEDAW, or Convention to End All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Talk about that.
Sure, I would love to do that. CEDAW, which is, as you said, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, is essentially a declaration of human rights for women, which was adopted by the United Nations in 1979. So that's more than 30 years ago. And that was the first time that women's rights within political, cultural, economic, social, and family spheres were really comprehensively addressed on a global level. And in the countries that have ratified CEDAW, there have been some really significant gains for women. For instance, in Kuwait, women there have gained the right to vote based on a recommendation of their CEDAW committee, and in Kenya, CEDAW was used to eliminate discrimination against widows and daughters when it came to inheritance rights. And 187 countries have ratified CEDAW. Six countries have not. Iran, Somalia, Sudan, two little countries that most of us have not heard of, or at least not frequently, Palau and Tonga, and lastly, the United States.
How embarrassing.
Which, it just is a huge thing that the United States has not ratified CEDAW, because the impact it would have for us to stand up for women's human rights, not only in our own country but on a global basis, would be enormous. And it really is crucial that we finally, 30-plus years later, get this thing ratified.
What are the excuses being given for why we shouldn't do this?
Well, let me tell you about some of the excuses that have been given over the years, and tell you exactly how that works in terms of ratifying CEDAW as well, because that does have an impact on how CEDAW gets ratified. Some of the arguments, and some of these going back quite a ways, are that it would negate family law and undermine traditional family values. This one at this point might make us laugh, because this, when this first came out, there were people saying, that will make it so that we'll allow same-sex marriage. Well, guess what? Never mind, we don't have CEDAW, and we are finally able to have same-sex marriages. That it would negate parental rights, that, women would have power over their own reproductive rights, and
shocking.
Yeah, exactly. Terribly shocking things. And the ERA might finally get passed. So these are some of the things. And former Senator Jesse Helms was a very vocal opponent of CEDAW, and as I think probably most of your listeners know, he's obviously was one of the very strong voices against abortion over the years as well.
Yeah, he was really special.
CEDAW has come. President Carter signed CEDAW in 1980 and submitted it to the Senate. And what happens is it first goes to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and that committee has twice sent it on to out of committee, but it is yet to be ratified, and it needs 67 votes. But here is where the problem is. The problem is that every country has the right to add what are called reservations to CEDAW if they feel that some clause, and there are 30 clauses in this convention, might be in conflict with national law. And sometimes that's not such a big deal, but sometimes it can really gut the meaning of the convention. And in this country, a number of reservations have been proposed over the years, and the problem with that is that it essentially gets CEDAW, and international human rights lawyer Janet Benshoff actually came up with a description I kind of like. She describes the way it would change the resolution as making it something like a twisted sister version of CEDAW, which just undermines CEDAW and would harm not only women here, but also in other countries. So we really, while I am so strongly in favor of passing CEDAW, we need to pass it without these reservations.
Lucinda, explain to our listeners how that process works. It needs to be reintroduced in Congress. Is that correct?
I think it needs to go back to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and then it would be sent to the Senate floor. Joe Biden has been a very strong supporter of CEDAW when he was a senator, and then more recently he has also spoken up about this. It is a priority on the Obama administration's plate. They have said that they are very much in favor of this. Last year, during a hearing on women in the Arab Spring, Barbara Boxer spoke out very strongly about it. So there are people out there in the right places who are ready to champion this. You know, the kicker is it needs 67 votes, and what we just saw with the disability resolution, that is going to be difficult to get. But, you know, I think it's possible there's a few Republican senators out there who might possibly figure out that if they want to get reelected, they need women's votes. And this is the crucial thing. If you write to your senator, tell them you want CEDAW ratified, and tell them that you want it ratified without reservations.
Exactly.
That is crucial.
Exactly. Now, we've only got a minute or so left, but take that minute and talk a little bit about what's been happening with Feminist Peace Network and your other terrific blogs.
Well, Feminist Peace Network, as I think you know, its primary mission is to advocate for human rights of women and raise awareness about all the various forms of misogyny that take place every day in this world, particularly the global pandemic of violence against women. And we have a very active Facebook page where there is a lot of discussion, and I would welcome your listeners to join us there, as well as to follow us on Twitter, it's at Fempeace, FEMPEACE, is our Twitter feed, and to follow us there. The Occupy Patriarchy website has not been as active lately, although we still continue to post things as they become available. And as you know, when you and I had a discussion when I interviewed you about Occupy Patriarchy and those issues a while back, that has been a real launching point for a lot of discussions, and I was so thrilled to have that opportunity to further that discussion there. So a lot of discussion, a lot of making connections, and that's really what it's all about.
You do wonderful work, Lucinda. Thank you so much for all of it, and we'll continue to follow it, and new people will get to discover it, and it's good stuff. Thank you so much also for being with us on Women's Media Center Live, and keep it up.
Thank you for having me here today.
We'll take a short break here. I'm Robin Morgan, and this is still Women's Media Center Live, the talk show with a brain. Now we go to Nepal, because apparently there is sexism even in Shangri-La. The woman who fights back from the foot of the Himalayas was with us when we return. After Hurricane Sandy, parts of the East Coast have returned to normal, but others won't see normal again for quite some time. One group getting volunteers and aid supplies to those who need it is called Occupy Sandy. Made up of a coalition of Occupy Wall Street activists, community organizers, and technologists, Occupy Sandy is using social media and other software tools to identify and quickly respond to urgent needs among the hardest-hit communities. You can help. To donate or to volunteer, visit occupysandy.org.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 Gov.biz Radio, a CBS station.
And we're back. We're back with Sapana Pradhan Malla, who is the founder back in 1995 and is still the director of the Forum for Women, Law and Development in Kathmandu, Nepal. I've seen her work there in the field, and it's remarkable. The forum works to end discriminatory laws and to implement CEDAW, the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which we just heard about from Lucinda Marshall in the previous segment. But how the forum functions in Nepal is quite a story. Welcome, Sapana, to Women's Media Center Live.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
Well, it's a real honor to have you here. The NGO, the non-governmental organization that you founded in 1995 in Nepal, Forum for Women, Law and Development, does so many things I don't really know where to start. Why don't we start with the example of the recent case that the forum handled so brilliantly, the case of the young nun, the Buddhist nun who was gang raped. Would you tell our listeners that story?
Yeah, this young nun was raped while she was going to her hometown. Because of the flood, they had to stop on the way. And since she could not afford to go to a hotel, she decided to sleep in the bus where bus conductors and other staffs, they raped her and then again, like when case was filed, all the bus staffs, they protested against the registration of the case. So they came as not as accused, but they came as a power, even to fight with the state, where the state wanted to take up the case against the rape.
So this was all the bus companies were protesting,
exactly,
were defending the rapists. Yes.
So this, therefore, we felt like this girl is so innocent. Fully covered with a monk dress, shaved hair, and general notion or assumption is that woman's dress is responsible for rape or her sexual expression, whereas there was nothing, she was expressing. She looked so innocent. And she was in hospital for a month, and since she could not get enough treatment in Nepal, she even had to be admitted in India because that occurred in a border place. And only through the media, when this issue was highlighted, then only we as an activist came to know. And what was most important in this case, in fact, all the Buddhist nuns from the world, they raised the voice for justice, and they communicated with us. As a result, we could provide a necessary support to her. We were physically present in the hospital. We tried to network with the existing shelters, but since she was a nun, we do not wanted her to take any shelter of domestic violence or violence against women, because we wanted to create an environment where she could get a similar kind of environment where she was living. But then it wasn't easy, because one hand we wanted to support her as a legal organization on ensuring justice, but other hand the challenge we faced, she was considered by her own, some of the person, like a polluted person.
Yes, it was the fact that the Buddhist monks declared her polluted that made me really crazy, just outraged. But you go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Because how can they consider her as a polluted when a crime occurred on her body? A crime occurred against state, because state recognizes it as a crime against government. But even in those situations,
they always blame the victim.
They polluted, and she was not allowed to stay in a nunnery where she was staying. So that created a further challenge among women's group. Because we all love our religion, we all love our culture, but that culture and religion should not make us further vulnerable for violence or should not be discriminating against, because our body is our dignity.
Yes.
And how can you treat unequal just because you are a victim of rape?
But you now have fought the case successfully, as I understand it.
Yes, the case has already been won in the district court, means lower instance court, but the accused, who has already been declared as a culprit, they are in prison.
They are. So the rapists are in prison.
All the rapists are 5 rapists are in the prison. The court has even issued order to give the compensation to the victim and also pay the money which was robbed by them. But now they have appealed the case in the appellate court.
Oh dear!
And Forum for Women Law and Development is supporting her, representing her as a private lawyer. In the appeal court of Thankuta.
So it still goes on. And what about the nunnery, the Buddhist nunnery? Have they permitted her back in? Have they declared her unpolluted?
No, not yet. Though, I mean, they made some clarification on it that no, that was not an issue. But then other Ani, a nun, a singer, she invited her to live in her place, and at present she is in fact not even living there. Mm-hmm. She is living with another Buddhist nun, and we are also trying to look for a different nunnery for her stay as well as continuing her education, because she needs to continue her education.
Yes, of course.
But she also needs to preach her own religious practices.
She's very...
And therefore we are really looking for a new place for her where she will be more comfortable.
Right. She's very young too, isn't she? How old is she?
She's around 18 now.
Yeah.
She's around 18, and Donor Direct Action has also been able to raise some fund for her future education and providing the support, and also supporting for the legal representation, because the case is in Far East. Means we took like 4 or 5 days even to travel.
Of course.
For representing her case in the district court, but now at least it's in the regional head office, so it's a little bit easy. But then what tossed me in this process, like when Donor Direct Action was raising the fund, like we came to know that most of the contribution was made by Buddhist nuns.
Interesting. For listeners, let me explain. Donor Direct Action is a nonprofit, online, absolutely skeleton stripped down NGO that has no overhead and makes it possible for Americans to get tax deductions to donate to causes overseas, feminist causes, women's rights. So it's Donor Direct Action, all one word. .org, and it's really quite terrific. We've only got a minute or two left, Sapana, but what you did for the Buddhist nun, Fulmaya is her name. What you did there is the kind of thing that the Forum does generally. It's a full service, what we would call a full service NGO. You do legal work regarding marital rape and women's right to inheritance and female citizenship rights, and not only the rights of women but of the disabled and the elderly and children and sexual and gender minorities and indigenous minorities and religious minorities. I mean, you've got a full portfolio, and then you've also done a lot of research, haven't you, on issues like child marriage and HIV/AIDS. And we've only got a minute or so left, but say a few words about that.
Basically, our organization is fighting against discrimination, but it's not only social, cultural discrimination that exists, but even law was discriminatory. So in the initial stage, we had to challenge the law, and therefore, like many laws have already came into effect, and now we are focusing more on implementation of the law and providing legal aid, representing marginalized, disadvantaged, and minorities in accessing justice.
Yeah, it's remarkable work that you do. And since Nepal is a poor country and women are even poorer, the work that you do is all the more important. So if anybody out there wants to be supportive, go to donordirectaction.org, and of the groups there you will see the Forum for Women, Law and Development based in Kathmandu, Nepal, which was founded by Sapana Pradhan Malla. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for everything that you do every day of your life. And now it's time for verbal karate. My thanks for this week's Karate Chop go to Rosalie Maggio again, and this time, author of numerous anti-sexist language studies and currently, happily, collaborating with the Women's Media Center on a book which will be titled Unspinning the Spin. Now, guys is a problem. No, I'm not being ungrammatical, and I don't mean all guys. I mean, excuse me, clearly guys who aren't sexist or racist are not a problem. But in any event, I'm talking about words here. For example, when somebody says, "See that guy?" Everybody, let's face it, looks for a male person. The problem is the ubiquitous "you guys" when referring to mixed gender groups or even all women groups. This tricky little phrase has its defenders and its critics both. For example, is "you guys" a friendly, inclusive, baggage-free expression? I mean, after all, it doesn't disparage anyone or demean anyone. It's not sexist per se. But, as Audrey Bilger wrote in Bitch magazine, can the same culture that says it's a guy thing to refer to whatever women just don't get about male behavior view a woman as one of the guys? She points out that terms signifying maleness have always been more readily perceived as universal than those signifying femaleness. And she adds, if you call a group of men "you gals," they are not going to think you're just celebrating our common humanity. Calling women guys makes femaleness invisible. It says that man, as in a male person, is still the measure of all things. That's what she wrote. Damn, I have to admit she's right. Though I confess I've used "you guys" as all-inclusive, and even at times for a group of women, I liked its relaxed, casual tone. "You people" is more formal, and also it's been used politically, as in, "you people don't know what's good for you," you know. You folks is kind of folksy. But from here on in, I'm going to try to restrict my guy usage to when I am referring to guys. Man seems to be trying for a comeback too, as in, "Hey man," or "Oh man," in addressing women as well as men. That one, frankly, gives me indigestion. Listen, come out of the 1970s once and for all. You guys. It's break time again. I'm still Robin Morgan, and this is Women's Media Center Live. We'll return in a minute with the director of the new Women's Media Center project on sexualized violence in conflict situations. This is really major, so don't go away. "40 years ago this January, the Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade guaranteed women's right to choose abortion. In 1977, Congress ended this right for the most vulnerable women when it passed the Hyde Amendment, banning Medicaid coverage of abortion. The National Network of Abortion Funds works to restore coverage while helping women pay for the procedures they need. You can help too. To learn more or donate so no woman is forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy to term, go to fundabortionnow.org.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.
Welcome back. Our next guest is an award-winning journalist who's written for publications from The Guardian to The Atlantic. She was previously the senior editor of the Committee to Protect Journalists, and she's on the advisory committee of the International Campaign to Stop Rape and Gender Violence in Conflict. She is now the director of the WMC's Women Under Siege project. Here is Lauren Wolfe. Welcome, Lauren, to Women's Media Center Live, which is part of the Women's Media Center family, as you are. Welcome.
Hi, Robin. Thank you.
Well, you are the director of one of the proudest projects that Women's Media Center has yet come up with, which is Women Under Siege. And just talk about what it is and what the WMC's Women Under Siege does.
Really what we're doing is looking very globally at how rape is used as a tool of war. We've reached all the way back to the Holocaust. The idea, at least in Gloria Steinem's mind, was that she didn't know what had really happened in terms of rape in the Holocaust, and when she read about it, she was pretty shocked. So the idea was to look at that, go up through time, look at Rwanda and Bosnia and Bangladesh and Guatemala, and go up to the present, up to the Arab Spring countries, into the Democratic Republic of Congo, and really try to identify patterns, how rape is being used as a tool to manipulate women and to really tear apart communities.
Mm. And the whole concept of sexualized violence in war either was completely ignored until now, or was taken, it's a contradiction in itself, or was taken as a just ho-hum, what else, you rape and take spoil. But I don't think it had been realized really until very recently, and what makes this project so important to me is the systemic quality of it through ethnic cleansing, ethnic rapes, and making the connections that rape and
right. It's funny because you said that people just kind of think of this as an everyday thing, and you think of the phrase raping and looting, and it just kind of it destroys me because I feel like, why do those two things automatically go together, and why are they so easily dismissed? Right. Even if something is not systemic, if we can't yet identify that, say, in Syria, that the government is ordering forces to actually rape women and destroy children and torture people, if we can't actually say that that's systemic, we can say that they know at this point it's happening. Yes. But to me, that's kind of the key thing to realize, that if a government knows it's happening, then they're responsible.
Yes, and there now is a precedent that rape in used as a weapon in war is a crime against humanity. That comes out of the Arusha trials. Talk about the crowd map, because that is unique on the site of Women Under Siege.
Sure. It's we have a map. It is a live crowdsourced map of sexualized violence in Syria. So what that is people can come to womenundersiegesyria.crowdmap.com. They can fill out a form. Their information is completely anonymous. We then evaluate the information and hopefully do a little more reporting, and we end up posting it online for everyone to see. So this is a public-facing. And what it does is it tracks types of sexualized violence, everything from groping up through gang rape and sexual enslavement, and it tracks the perpetrators. So you can go online and check off whether it was government forces, non-government, Shabiha, which are the plainclothes militiamen. From there, basically what we've done is get a sense geographically and kind of in the tenor of what might be happening to women. And we're also tracking rape of men, too, in Syria.
And the two sort of fronts of Women Under Siege, one is a public education plan to show how rape is a tool of war, a strategic tool, not just a crime of war. And the other, an action plan to push for the creation of legal, diplomatic, and public interventions I'm reading from your website right now, to ensure the United Nations and international tribunals and agencies will understand the gender-based threats as a tool of genocide, and will do something about that. Talk a little about the effect that the website and the project has had, because I think that's quite remarkable.
It's been pretty eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people. There's never been a live map of how rape is used in war the way we have in Syria. Usually these things are kind of gathered after the fact, and a lot of evidence is lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Syria, we've realized that 20% of the women in our reports were killed after rape or killed themselves because of stigma.
Mm.
But basically, the idea is to make an impact right now, you know, get people to understand these patterns, try to do something about what's happening in places like Congo or Burma before it's too late.
Mm.
And we've had some real success so far. I was in the UK a couple weeks ago presenting our work on Syria to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. We came up with some specific recommendations that we handed to William Hague, and he has been responding to them one by one. I've also been contacted by the White House and the State Department, and I'm working on the sidelines with them, talking about what they can be doing better in terms of stopping sexualized violence in Syria.
Mm. And I know you've testified at the United Nations, haven't you?
Right. In July, I actually went there to present our findings. And in that room, there were member states, you know, from Egypt, from, I think, Canada was there. And we were told that the Syrians would be there, but they actually didn't show up that day.
And the crowd map so far is specifically for Syria, because we haven't yet expanded to crowd maps in other areas. Am I correct?
That's right. You know, we're looking at doing it in different places, but a place like Congo, which is called, you know, offhand, it's called the rape capital of the world.
Yeah.
It would be really great to do something like that there. There are a lot of considerations, security considerations, you know, internet penetration. So we're kind of evaluating where might be a good place to expand this kind of work.
Mm. I've often thought, since the Arusha decision which was handed down by the Arusha court on rape in war, and which once and for all set a precedent, saying that it was a crime against humanity. I've thought to myself, well, if rape in war is a crime against humanity, then what in hell is it in peacetime? But that's the kind
I've always loved when you said that, and it's actually something I've begun repeating.
Well, you know, but it's an essential feminist question, because the truth of the matter is one step at a time, and rape in war as you say, a matter of policy, a directed strategy toward crushing the other side, because of course women are just the envelope to carry the message. So if you rape their women, then it's a means of humiliating their men and impregnate their women with yours. I mean, it's in a sense the essential act of patriarchy that you're addressing. Mm-hmm. And it's shocking that it's taken this long to really uncover it and address it, but thankfully that's exactly what you're doing. How can people help women under siege? How can they become involved if they want to?
You know, the first thing I would say is that we're a public information project first and foremost. You know, like you said, it's shocking how long it's taken for people to understand what's going on. To me, these stories, if they make the news at all, they're never front page news. You know, we're starting to see them on the front page. You know, CNN just did something with our work on Syria, and they did put it front and central on their homepage, and that was really surprising huge. And really excellent.
That's huge.
So first and foremost, I think people can help us spread this information. You know, we can't do much until people know what's happening. You know, the other thing is we're coming up with a few different specific actions people can take, you know, in terms of, say, for instance, abortion is actually outlawed in a number of countries, but more than that, when a woman has been raped, she's not able to go to a clinic to have an abortion because U.S. funding is restricted in a lot of countries where,
right.
We'll say, for instance, in Sudan, the U.S. is not allowed to provide abortion services for women who've been raped in conflict.
Right.
And women have no other place to go, basically, because the U.S. is providing the only medical service in, say, a particular city. So something like that. There are action points that we're going to create some rallying around.
So people need to check the website regularly and continuously, and they can access the website one of two ways. They can go to womensmediacenter.com and link to Women Under Siege from there, or they can go direct to womenundersiegeproject.org. Thank you, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thanks, Robin.
And it's time for another pause. I'm Robin Morgan, here with Women's Media Center Live. Remember the joke, how many feminists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer was 1, and it's not funny. So feminists have no sense of humor, eh? Then what do we do about the inimitable Kate Clinton? Coming right up.
If you ever need an organ transplant, you will probably die before you get one. Thousands of Americans die waiting every year. You can improve your odds by joining LifeSharers, and it's free. Visit lifesharers.org or call 888-ORGAN-88. LifeSharers puts organ donors first. When you join LifeSharers, you get preferred access to the organs of other members. This could literally save your life. Join LifeSharers today. There's no age limit, parents can enroll their minor children, and no one is excluded due to any pre-existing medical condition. Call 888-ORGAN-88 or visit lifesharers.org. That's LifeSharers.org. LifeSharers. It's free. It could save your life.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.
And we're back again. This time with author and stage, TV, and internet political humorist Kate Clinton, who has infused feminism with her special wit over a really distinguished and beloved career of 30 years. Which is quite a feat since she's really only 12. Welcome, Kate, to Women's Media Center Live.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. First of all, I want to talk about the new ebooks. Don't Get Me Started is one, and What the L is the other, and tell about how they came to be.
They're both collections of essays that I've written over the years, and I have 3 of them, and we are with Bywater Books, and they have put them up as ebooks, and it's lovely because people just have them on their Kindle. They're the kind of thing that you can, read one and then have your day and read another if you're stuck on the train. So it's it's just you'll be the only one laughing on a subway.
I was a bit of a Luddite about ebooks because I love printed books so much. I mean, literally, when they arrive from the printer, when your new book, when one's new book comes and it smells fresh, the page. I mean, I was very resistant. But I have to say, you sit on the subway and suddenly people are reading again, and they're reading from tablets. And even the few who don't have tablets have been driven back to books, and they're sitting there with their paperback. So
it's
this
wonderful.
is
and
it's a good thing.
Also, the other technologies of texting and constant texting, I mean, it's sort of ruining the language, but people are actually writing.
They are, yeah.
And that's very exciting. If I were back in the classroom, I would be all over the technology.
Well, me too now. I mean, I'm completely a convert, and I even am on Twitter. I resisted for purely personal reasons. I thought somebody who has my first name maybe should not tweet. It's a little.
You did, and it's great.
But I gave in.
To communicate information fast.
I gave in.
It's a wonderful thing, and I'm as Luddite as you. I think I am. And then somebody said, "Well, no, you're fairly multi-platformed." But
yeah, no, I was thinking that we all are being forced into that, and it's a good thing. I mean, you blog, you do stage work, you do television work, you write books. You are a Renaissance media woman, and you're funny in all of them. Even on the phone, you are funny. You terrorized me the other day.
I did.
Well, what happened, listeners, was that I called Kate and I was going to leave a message because the little robot machine was answering. And so I started to say, well, hello, machine, this is a message for, and then came on this voice because the machine had.
And I said, because I do screen, I thought it was you and I heard it was you and I said, machine responding, please tell me what you need.
But it was in the exact, identical same voice that the message had been. And it really threw me. I mean, I'm now traumatized by your machine. Totally. Listen, we were talking just before we started taping about other feminist comics, of which there are never enough, and I always think of you as one of the finest. And so does Lily, Tomlin, who is doing the show in a couple of weeks. And I was telling Kate that Lily had praised her highly. And then you started to tell this wonderful story, which I want you to tell again because it's too good not to share.
So I was doing a benefit auction for the Fenway Women's Health Collective in Boston, which is a wonderful thing. And Lily had gotten an award earlier in the evening, and then later I was supposed to do an auction, and I was supposed to auction off lunch with me, and I only had it up to like $700. And suddenly I looked over, and Lily was sitting on the edge of the stage, and I said, Lily, do you want to say something? And she came to the microphone and became Ernestine and said that she would come to the lunch, and practically, within minutes, we got it up to $8,000. But in the meantime, she stayed in the Ernestine character, and I became Vito, her butch friend, and it was hilarious. And they taped it, and when I watch it, I can see the moment when I realized that I was like acting with Lily Tomlin, that we were improvising. I was so excited.
I wish I had been. Yeah, I'm very glad that it's on tape. I will definitely look it up. Why do they say, why is this old chestnut still alive, that feminists have no sense of humor? I mean, we are the funniest people just because we're feminists. That's pretty funny.
I think what happened, it's my theory, my conspiracy theory, and I do believe that one woman's conspiracy theory is another man's history. But I think what happened was there were a bunch of women in the kitchen who were feminists who were laughing their heads off, sliding down the refrigerator, tears running down their eyes, out of their eyes, and there was a guy in the living room who felt left out. And what's the worst insult that you can say is women feminists have no sense of humor. And that it just caught on.
Yeah. I mean, it's just shocking. I've never, in all the social justice movements that I've been involved in, which is probably too many, I have never laughed as long and as hard as I have in the women's movement, internationally as well as nationally. I mean, there's a different, distinct kinds of cultural humor, but they're all feminist.
Yes. I mean, I just did an event with Eve Ensler, and the woman who was on speaking ahead of me was a woman named Isatou Touré, and she's done lots of work in Africa on stopping female genital mutilation and educating about it. And it was that, and then and here's Kate. Whoa,
but, a hard act to follow.
It's not. I mean, serious and humorous can very well be together, and despite our cultural differences, I remember looking out and seeing this incredibly regal, gorgeous Isatou sitting there howling, and it just made me so happy.
Yeah, and it's also, there's something distinct about feminist humor, given all of the differences among the different feminist wits, comedians, comics, etc., that is not nasty, that is not,
I think
not
we're
cruel.
I think what scans as funny in a comedy club is stand-up, which is very male. It's like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down.
Yeah.
But I think women's humor really is more narrative, more circular. There's a power dynamic in men's humor and women who like to do that kind of humor. That's about the put-down. But what I really... what I believe is that women's humor is really more stand with, not stand up. That
that's cool.
Not put down. It's like kind of lift up kind of humor. And that men's humor is really about maintaining the status quo. But I think our at its best, feminist humor is really about changing things. And I think that more and more women in their own lives and and certainly feminist performers, women who have feminist roots, are saying, the joke's not on us anymore. Our butts have been the butts of the jokes. It's not going to happen. I think one of the most wonderful books from an incredible little feminist is Tina Fey's book.
Oh, she's so... Oh,
she is a totally... It's like the new... I mean, it's not... It's like that generation's take on women and on feminist humor. And her... Just the way she is, supports women... her friendship with Amy Poehler is so amazing.
Isn't it?
And you could just feel it in when Hillary was in the primary against now President Obama. It was, they did such great stuff.
Yeah.
From that space.
And and unashamed of being political, no apologies. I mean, it's just like, so your tours, I always think of as organizing trips, which is a terrible thing to say because it sounds like they're good for you, like vegetables. But in fact, vegetables can be quite delicious, as we know. And there's a way in somehow through humor and art that puts political rhetoric in the dust, because it comes in under the radar. It comes in, laughter is recognition and it's perspective. And I know that women walk away from your shows not only with tears running from their eyes and their ribs hurting from laughter, but with their lives changed. Tell a little bit about the tours that are coming. You are touring again after the holidays, yes? Yes,
I am. I'm my 2013 tour, just named, is called Sis Boom Ba. And it's about the sisters who I think are rising, and I think the sound we're hearing is old white guys letting go, or just not letting go, and the sound of their fingernails going down the board. It's about the boomer. I'm a baby boomer, but it's also about bringing in younger and younger women. I think younger women are just doing amazing work, and it's BAH, and that's BAH to anyone who isn't on our team, who isn't with the team spirit.
I love it, and people can go to the website, say the website, and find out the tour dates.
The website is kateclinton.com.
That's simple enough.
Eponymous. Whatever.
Even I can remember that. The same name. Yeah, they're eponymous. I don't know.
Oh, well.
Anyway, we got to go. I love you dearly.
Thank you, dear. It's a pleasure.
And your brain in particular. And you are a national treasure and an international one, too. Thanks so much, Kate, for being with us on Women's Media Center Live.
Thank you.
Isn't Kate great? And now it's time for Fighting Words. Have you noticed a subtle self-repositioning by Republicans lately? I don't mean the ones who swear that they never meant what they're on tape swearing they really mean. No, this is something else. I started to pay attention when the fourth person in a month, in a totally unsolicited confession, shrugged, "I'm really not so much a Republican as a Libertarian." A young guest on this program said precisely that on November 3rd, and she is the head of the Young Republicans group on her campus. Then a neighbor said the same thing, then a cab driver, then my bank's customer service representative. Dictionary libertarian means wanting the least possible government interference with an individual's personal freedom. But, reality libertarian can mean something very different, like skeletal government, minimal or no taxes, no gun laws or regulations of banking or industries or products. I don't know what it means for public schools or civil rights or safety nets like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, but I don't think it bodes well. Although these folks are consistent. You do not catch them piously intoning how sacred life is in the fetal form, while defending the death penalty and saber-rattling for war with Iran immediately. There's a libertarian political party, of course, with elected mayors, county executives, even a sheriff, on the local level, all of it, which, if you reject government, seems to me a little contradictory. But the ones who really interest me are the Republicans now leery of the name Republican, which once stood for the party of Lincoln, a party of principle. This was back when Southern Democrats were synonymous with Jim Crow segregation and Northern Democrats with corrupt machine politics. Libertarians style themselves fiscal conservatives but social liberals. To them, gay rights and marriage equality are cool. No government meddling allowed, you remember. Ditto abortion rights. In other words, back to positions the GOP took before it had been godded up by legions of the churched. But wouldn't it be smarter to return to those positions rather than abandon a major party's infrastructure to crazed theocrats? Third parties have never really made it nationally, so we need both of the two that we're stuck with to be at least rational. When the GOP slides so far to the right, it tilts the middle. Even the Democrats shift rightward. So go home, Republicans, and reclaim your own party for all our sakes. And that's it for this week. You've been listening to us on CBS station 1580gov.biz AM radio in Washington, D.C., and on the web at WMClive.com, which also has podcasts of all our previous shows. Remember to email us and tell us what you're thinking at Women's Media Center Live at gmail.com. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not represent the WMC. Here is the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and for this program Executive Producer, Julie Burton. Senior Producer, Crystal Williams-Chancellor. Technical Director, Michelle Kinsey-Bruns. Production Assistant, Nora Eakin. Board Operator, Jimmy Henderson. And our founding sponsor, Regina Kulik-Scully. I'm Robin Morgan. Thanks for being with us. Join us next week for a unique solstice show. 4 feminists celebrating the return of the light. A radical Christian minister, honest. A free-thinking atheist feminist, a practicing Wiccan, and me. Only get that on the talk show with a brain. Women's Media Center, live.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on 1580 gov.biz radio, a CBS station.